Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 2, in the matter of Ajamila delivered by the Vishnu Dutas. I'll read few verses. There is no purport for myself. We'll chant text number 32, text 28. Mridau anatau pitaro nanya bandhu tapasvino aho maya dhuna tyaktau akrat ajnena nichabhat. Translation: My father and mother were old and had no other son or friend to look after them. Because I did not take care of them, they lived with great difficulty. Alas, like an abominable lower class man, I ungratefully left them in that condition. Small purport by Prabhupada. Purport: According to Vedic civilization, everyone has a responsibility for taking care of brahmanas, old men, women, children and cows. This is the duty of everyone, especially an upper class person. Because of his association with a prostitute, Ajamila abandoned all his duties. Regretting this, Ajamila now considered himself quite fallen. Text 29. Soham vyaktam patishyami narake brishadarune dharmagna kamino yatra vindanti yamayatanaha. Translation: It is now clear that as a consequence of such activities, a sinful person like me must be thrown into a hellish condition meant for those who have broken religious principles and must there suffer extreme miseries. Text 30. Kimidam swapna osvid saksha drishtam yadbhutam kvayata adyate mam vekarshan pasapanayah. Translation: Was this a dream I saw, or was it reality? I saw fearsome men with ropes in their hands coming to arrest me and drag me away. Where they have gone. Text 31. Atate kwa gata siddha chatvara charu darshana vyamochen niyamanam badva pasayado bhuva. Translation: And where those four liberated and very beautiful persons gone, who released me from arrest and saved me from being dragged down to the hellish region. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As we have learned from the description in the 5th canto, the hellish planets are situated in the lower portion of this universe. Therefore they are called Ado Bhuvaha. Ajamila could understand that the Yamadutas had come from that region. 32 will repeat. Tatapi me durbhagasya vibidotatma darshane bhavitavyam mangalena enatma me prasidati. Translation and purport by Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: I am certainly most abominable and unfortunate to have merged in an ocean of sinful activities. But nevertheless, because of my previous spiritual activities, I could see those four exalted personalities who came to rescue me. Now I feel exceedingly happy because of their visit. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 22.54, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shatrakaya Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Haya. Association with devotees is recommended by all the Shastras because by even a moment of such association, one can receive the seed of all perfection. In the beginning of his life, Ajamila was certainly a very pure and he associated with devotees and brahmanas. Because of that pious activity, even though he was fallen, he was inspired to name his son Narayana. Certainly, this was due to good counsel given from within by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham ridhi sannavishto mata smiti jnanam apovanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. The Lord is situated in the Lord is who is situated in everyone's heart. He is so kind that if one has ever rendered service to Him, the Lord never forgets him. Thus, the Lord from within gave Ajamila the opportunity to name his youngest son Narayana, so that in affection he would constantly call Narayana, Narayana, and thus be saved from the most fearful and dangerous condition at the time of his death. Such is the mercy of Krishna. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 19.151. By the mercy of Guru and Krishna, one receives the seed of bhakti. This association saves a devotee from the greatest fear. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore change a devotee's name to a form that reminds him of Vishnu. If at the time of death the devotee can remember his own name, such as Krishna Das or Govinda Das, he can be saved from the greatest danger. Therefore, the change of name at the time of initiation is essential. The Krishna consciousness movement is so meticulous that it gives one a good opportunity to remember Krishna somehow or other. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So we have been reading in this chapter how Ajamila was a Brahmana. Unfortunately, he fell down from his Brahminical standard, like we read in few verses now, because he was just seeing a Shudra and Shudrani embracing. And because of that, he got disturbed and he became mad after that Shudrani prostitute. He got married, and the story goes like that. So, in these verses today, what we read, the first verse, verse 28, it is mentioned, my father and mother were old, and there no other son or friend to look after them. Because I did not take care of them, they lived with great difficulty. Alas, like an abominable lower class man, I gratefully left them in that condition. So last few words also we read how Ajamila now is self-realized and he could understand his mistake and he was regretting for the mistake he has committed. We read in the last few verses. So, in the short purport, Prabhupada writes, according to Vedic civilization, everyone has the responsibility of taking care of Brahmanas, old men, women, children and cows. In many places in the Vedic literature, these 5 things are referred actually. Because it's a responsibility and everyone has the responsibility. Not that only particular person, particular section of the society. No, everybody has to take care of old men, Brahmanas, children, women and cows. This is the essence according to Vedic civilization. That is what Vedic civilization was all about. Especially because of his association with a prostitute, Ajamila gave up all these things. He gave his beautiful wife, young Brahminical wife. He gave up his old father and mother. That's why he is telling here, Ajamila now considered himself quite fallen. So, somebody may question, many of us have joined ISKCON and trying to be a part of this mission. So what happens to our father and mother, correct? Everybody is growing old, we are growing old, our parents are growing old. And in most of the cases, actually it's only one son, they have only one son. So who will take care of father, who will take care of our mother when they become old? This question arises actually. So, Bhagavatam explains, if somebody surrenders to the Supreme Lord Krishna, Vishnu, Narayana, then he is free from the obligation of serving, because you are serving the Supreme Lord and everybody is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. In fact, we think that we are taking care of our parents, we are taking care of our relatives. Actually, we are not doing anything. I say, but if somebody is in the outside world, he is obligated actually. That's why, just like you see today, this old age home, actually very flourishing, particularly in Coimbatore and Bangalore also it's picking up. If you go there, there's a very hi-fi old age home and all. People don't mind shelling 10 to 15 lakhs per month and all. There are cases like that. Why? Because the young generation, they don't want to take care of their old parents or something like that. Because they will always come in the way of sense enjoyment, sense gratification. So they conveniently, if somebody is very well off, they'll put them in an old age home actually. And they go on, they give money. Actually, but if you see, few devotees have visited for some purpose, they have gone to that old age home. Actually, people are all suffering there very much. When they were in the prime age, when they were up to their retirement age, say up to 55, 60 and all, they would have been in big position, big businessman, big IAS officer, government officer, all these things, or big doctors, surgeons. But at the fag end of their life, if their children they are not taking care, and in today's world, most of the sons are out of India first. They are somewhere in America or Europe or somewhere, and they are put into old age home. And you see, actually everybody is leveled up, because when we have that position, even in the government office also, when they are minister or some big position, everybody respect them. After retirement, who cares? Nobody cares for them actually, because that position is filled in by some other person. So this is how it goes on. So if somebody is negligent of taking care of their parents and not surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he will be implicated by the sinful activities actually. He will get sinful reaction for this. That's why it is said, according to Vedic civilization, everyone has the responsibility for taking care of Brahmanas, old men, women, children and cows. So nobody can escape this. Out of ignorance we may do something, but ignorance is no excuse in law. So that's what this first verse says. So Ajamila now considered himself quite fallen, because he didn't take care of his old father and mother. Next translation says, it is now clear that as a consequence of such activities, a sinful person like me, Ajamila says, must be thrown into hellish condition meant for those who have broken religious principles and must suffer extreme miseries. See, Ajamila, Prabhupada writes in that previous purport, Ajamila became perfectly pure devotee and he was regretting his sinful activities. How he came to this position? Because he heard the dialogue we are hearing in this chapter, the conversation between the Vishnu Dutas and the Yama Dutas. So just by hearing from a pure devotee, actually he became perfectly pure. Prabhupada writes there. The 30th, next verse it says, then he is saying, was this a dream I saw, or was it reality? I saw fearsome men with ropes in their hand coming to arrest me and drag me away where they have gone. So he is referring to the Yamadutas. Because at the point of death, particularly a person who has committed a lot of sin during the lifetime, it is mentioned in the scriptures, they will get this vision of Yamadutas, the messenger of Yamaraja, coming closer to them with ropes in their hand to take the soul to the Yamaloka for severe punishment. And in the next verse, 31st verse, it is mentioned, and whereof those 4 liberated and very beautiful persons gone, who released me from arrest and saved me from being dragged down to the hellish region. This is referring to the Vishnu Dutas. So, Prabhupada there he writes, therefore they are called Ado Buvaha. Ajamila could understand that the Yamaduta that had come from that region. And he had done, he was a Brahmana, he fell down from his Brahminical standard, he committed a lot of sinful activities. Now he is going to be suffering for this, that's what he is telling. And in the last verse, what we read together, it is mentioned, I am certainly most abominable and unfortunate to have merged in the ocean of sinful activities, but nevertheless, because of my spiritual activities, I could see those four exalted personalities who came to rescue me. Now I feel exceedingly happy because of their visit. So this is the advantage of rendering devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. Whatever little service we do, maybe it's very insignificant service. Prabhupada writes in the purport, actually Krishna notes that. Correct? And the Lord who is situated in everyone's heart is so kind that if one has ever rendered service to him, the Lord never forgets him. Because that's why Prabhupada begins this purport also, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shatrakaya. Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi. Lava Matra, even a fraction of association with a pure devotee can free one from all this misgiving, the miseries of this world. Just like we all of us have experienced, we came in touch with Srila Prabhupada through his mission, through his books, through prasadam, through his devotees. And we see when we are outside how we were. Now we are so fortunate. That's what it is said, Prabhupada writes here, because by even a moment of such association, one can receive the seed of all perfection. A moment of actually lava, Prabhupada translates as 1/11 of a second. A second is 1/11 of a second is called lava in Sanskrit. And just by that association, one can become purified if you come in touch with a pure devotee. So, devotional service, Prabhupada explained, bhakti, whatever little devotional service we do, actually that is what is going to save us at the time of death. Swalpam api yasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. Swalpam, whatever little we are able to do. That's why it doesn't mean we do only little service, it's not like that. Even somebody is fortunate to do that little service. Just like Prabhupada mentioned in few places about the story mentioned in the Upanishad of that rat, a small rat, mouse is there. It is always looking for some food. So it is entering the deity room and it's seeing that a lamp is lit there and is about to go off. So it thought it's some food for him. That's the rat. So as it goes and it tried to snatch, somehow the lamp get again lit. So Lord Vishnu takes this as a service towards him. So Prabhupada mentioned the rat got liberation. Just like Pujari, we light a lamp in the altar, correct, before Darshanarti. And so rat also did the same thing actually. He became a Pujari. For a second, small thing, correct? It went for his business because we know rat generally goes and picks up something, ghee or something like that, it eats, correct? That is his food. So it went there and it got liberated. Just see what is the power of devotional service. Actually, we day in, day after we chant, we attend kirtan, we read. We don't, sometimes it misses us actually. We miss this very important point. No, whatever little we do, actually that is what is going to save us. So Prabhupada says, whatever we do sincerely, it will never be lost. So sincerely, with heart, with consciousness, we should put our mind, body in when we are rendering some service. And in that purport also Prabhupada writes, even if somebody is able to do only 1% of devotional service in this life, it never goes in vain. It is never lost. Next life, you will get a chance to be born as a human being and to continue from the second person. But Prabhupada also says, why we have to take chance? Why we have to come to this world? Because Bhagavad Gita clearly says, Suchinam Srimatange. If somebody renders devotional service, he is not able to complete it, he will again get a chance to be born in a Brahminical family or an aristocrat family from where he can still continue devotional service. But Prabhupada says, no, we should try to finish off the business of Krishna consciousness in this life only. Because Maya is very powerful. All this in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, so people may devotee, even devotee like us, we may take it little lightly. Anyhow, okay, I made it. I will do what are possible. Maybe next life anyhow I am going to get. But why we have to take that chance? Because Maya is very strong. Prabhupada explains, Daivi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Durattaya. It's very, very stringent. Law of material nature is very stringent. We cannot cross it. Mamevai prapadyante Maya metantarantite. So, Prabhupada says in that purport also, if you finish 100% of Krishna consciousness, then immediately you go back to Godhead in this life only, irrespective of whatever position we are in. There is a similar verse in Bhagavatam also in this connection, very famous verse, Prabhupada quotes, Tektva sadharmam charanambujam hare bhajan napakko atha patet tato yadi. Prabhupada quotes in that Bhagavad Gita purport also this, to that Swalpam apiyasya dharmasya. One who has forsaken his material occupation to engage in devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. Because we are all bound to fall down. We are all, that's why we are all fallen down to this material world. So we have come here due to immature stage. Yet there is no danger of being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. Somebody may be systematic. It is actually referring to dharma. Swadharma is referring to the occupational duty. This four varna and four ashrama. So varnashrama is important, like we have been hearing. But at the same time, when we take to Krishna consciousness or direct devotional service, he is far, far superior to even varnashrama dharma. But according to our nature, everybody is engaged in different service. Varna ashrama, that is the classification. So Prabhupada says, even to be engaged in our occupational duty, that will bring up the peace in the society. Nobody knows about all these things. Everybody, whatever he wishes, he does. So that's why there is no peace in this material world also. And then Prabhupada goes on to say, people will be automatically enlightened, human civilization, so long, because we have got this material body, we have to be engaged in some activity. We can't sit silent like that. Even a child cannot sit silent for a moment, because soul is always active. We want to be engaged. So in varnashrama, what is done is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, according to their guna, they are engaged in a particular duty. And ultimately, the Daivi Varnashrama is to satisfy or please Krishna or Vishnu. That is the ultimate goal of this Varnashrama arrangement. So, if we may be in any situation, but ultimate goal is to satisfy or please the Supreme Personality of God. So, Prabhupada writes, so long you have got this material body, you have to do something. You have to, Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, to keep the body and soul, Arjuna, you have to fight. You are a Kshatriya. Why you are saying, I will not fight? No, you have to fight. Kshatriya duty is to give protection. So you do. But how you should do? That's what actually Bhagavad Gita is all about. Tasma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhacha. You fight but always think of me. That is important. So we do our occupation, we forget the background for whom we are working, then it's no use actually. So we should always be conscious of this. And then Prabhupada mentioned this also. Just like, give this example, it is mentioned in the Upanishad. Just like lion is considered to be a king of jungle, but lion cannot think that I am the king, I can just relax and sleep, I'll get my prey, I'll get my food like that. It doesn't work like that. Nai simhasya suptasya pravishanti mukhe mriga. The lion also will have to go out, search for his food. And Prabhupada mentioned, lion doesn't get food every day like that. Because there is nobody, there is no philanthropist like that who will come and surrender to lion like that. And there are some jungle laws, Prabhupada says. The lion goes out, there are some animal, they will make some sound. By that, other smaller animal, they know lion is coming out, so they will all go and hide. So there is, nature's law is like that. So in other words, we may be very powerful, but everybody who has come to this material world have to work. But we are so fortunate, when we work for Krishna, actually that is the highest thing. When you are helping in the mission of the spiritual master, that is the highest service one can do to the society. So when we come to that spiritual platform to serve Krishna, then that is our real constitutional position. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also taught us, Nam Vipro Nacha Narapati Napi Vaishya Na Sudro. I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya, I am not a Shudra. I am not a Brahmachari, Grasa, all this Varna and Ashram. What I am then? Gopi Bharta Pada Kamalayo, Dasa Dasanu Dasa. I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Prabhupada says, more you become servant of the servant, the more you are advanced. Because in the material world, nobody wants to be servant or subordinate. Everybody wants to be boss. Everyone wants to lord over. But in spiritual world, everybody wants to serve actually. So that is that spiritual platform that we can get by the association of a pure devotee, like it is mentioned. Even a moment of such association, one can receive the seed of all perfection. That is the success of life, Prabhupada says. We may achieve big things in this material world, but if it is without Lord, without Krishna, then it's all it's all null and void. It has no value actually. We also know from the Bhagavatam how example of King Rahuguna. He heard from Jadabharat, and he also immediately became self-realized. Because he was king, we know that pastime is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. Jadabharat was carrying his palanquin, and he was telling, you are not able to carry palanquin, what is this, like that and all. So that elaborate description, very nicely Bhagavatam explained. Actually, Jadabharat, we know, he fell down from his standard again, Bharat Maharaj. But in next life, he got a chance, he acted as a Jadabharat. And he was elevated in consciousness. When he spoke about all soul, body, bodily concept, all these things, then suddenly he thought, hey, he's not an ordinary person, why I am chastising him? So he came to his senses. So when we hear from a pure devotee, who is coming in a pure devotee, comes in a parampara, then actually all our misgivings, misunderstanding, misconception will all fade away, go away. And similarly we know how Narada Muni delivered these two sons. Narada Muni had delivered so many kings and so many of them, hunter, and we know how he delivered the sons of Kuvera. The sons of Kuvera, Manigreva and Nalakuvera, were stinkingly rich. So generally, a son of a rich person will be spoiled. So they were intoxicated, and when Narada Muni was passing by, they didn't even bother to cover their body properly. When Narada Muni saw this, immediately cursed them. But when a saintly person, when a pure devotee even curses somebody, it is for the benefit of that soul. So we know how he was cursed to be born as a tree, but tree in the garden of Nanda Maharaj. And because of this, he got opportunity to see Krishna face to face. When Krishna knocked down those two trees, Yamalajuna tree, actually he could see Krishna there. So like this, there are many examples. Bhagavatam also says, one more interesting verse is there in the first canto itself. See, Tulayama lavenapi na swargam na punarbhavam. See, na punarbhavam. Bhagavad sangi sangasya martyanam kim utasisha. The value of moment association with the devotee of the Lord cannot even be compared to the attainment of heavenly planet. See, people want to go to heavenly planet to enjoy heavenly pleasures. But here it is said, the value of moments association, same word actually, lavenapi, cannot be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter. And what to speak of worldly benediction in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death. So these karmis, karmakandis who follow all these things, they want to enjoy in this world, they get a lot of pleasure, but ultimately everything will be squared up. We'll all have to leave this body and we'll have to go. In this world, you go to heavenly planet, anywhere you go, Brahma Bhavana Loka Punaravartin Arjuna. We have to come down again. So, like this, in Mangalarti reading today, Prabhupada again and again he stresses this point actually. It's very, if you see many of the quotes, Prabhupada, today's Mangalarti quote was, be very careful, follow all the regulative principles nicely, chant 16 rounds, and study my book very deeply. See, Prabhupada always says about this. Chant 16 rounds nicely and follow 4 regulative principles nicely. Read my books deeply. This will make you able to go back home, back to Godhead at the end of this life. See, like this Prabhupada has mentioned many times. Because on our own we cannot get out of this material existence. Only by the mercy of a devotee, pure devotee like Prabhupada. We may be, Prabhupada says, we may be like Prabhupada also says in a lecture and all correct. If Radharani recommends somebody, Srimati Radharani recommends somebody to Krishna, Krishna has to accept. We may be rascal, Prabhupada says in a lecture. We may be doing nonsense. But if Srimati Radharani recommends to Krishna, then we have made it. Similarly, if a pure devotee like Prabhupada, he recommends our case, then we made it actually in this life. Otherwise, on our own, we may do, but to attract his mercy, we have to follow his simple instruction, correct? Very simple instruction. Prabhupada's instructions are very simple. Vedic literature gives very simple instructions. It calls for little austerity. We have to take that tapasya. Because our mind body is not ready for that. So that is the tapasya we have to take in the human form of life. Tapo divyam putraka ena sattvam. Just by taking the tapasya, we can achieve like that. So then Prabhupada ends the purport and is talking about, so this Guru Krishna Kripai Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Prabhupada quote this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. By the mercy of Guru and Krishna, one receives seed of bhakti. This association saves a devotee from the greatest fear. See, Guru and Krishna. If at the time of, before that Prabhupada mentioned, this, okay, in our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore change the name change a devotee's name to a form reminds him of Krishna. So, last sentence. The Krishna conscious movement is so meticulous, Prabhupada is writing, so meticulous, that it gives one a good opportunity to remember Krishna somehow or other. So, if you just stick on to this movement, because everything is arranged very systematically, meticulously it is arranged. Somehow maybe some difficulties, some trouble, some problem, now and then it will come, nobody will be freed like that. So if you know all these things, if you have read Srila Prabhupada's instructions, then we will just tolerate and go on with our spiritual duty. So Prabhupada says, and so ultimately that is the end, that should be the goal of life. Bhagavatam says in the beginning, Ante Narayana Smriti, which he achieved here, Ajamila, we are reading. He just called out his son's name. That's why Prabhupada, that also he mentions in this last purport. Thus the Lord from within gave Ajamila the opportunity to name his youngest son Narayana, so that in affection he would constantly call Narayana, Narayana, and thus be saved from the most fearful and dangerous condition at the time of death. So, this nice pastime of Ajamila, we should always remember this, somehow or other, remember Krishna, and from morning till night we have been given this opportunity. We should just go on following this process of sadhana bhakti. Then there are very good chances that we'll think of Krishna, Vishnu when we are going to leave the body. Because we don't know when we become old what is going to be our status. Our health condition may not permit. That's why Kulashekara Acharya also he says that when I'm young, Lord, please take me. Because when I become old, I know Kapha, Pitta, Vayu, we are all the three dhatuke, our body is made of bag of three things. So we don't know what is there in the store. Particularly when we are young, energetic, we should engage in the service wholeheartedly, and that will attract Lord's mercy, and that will attract Prabhupada's mercy, and we'll get Lord's mercy. I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.